Welcome to Digital Asset News. My name is Rob, and welcome to the live stream. So today we've got a lot of things to go over. First of all, you're here because of the thumbnail and the title, and this is probably the second biggest bullish story I've seen throughout this entire year. We're going to talk about how JP Morgan, the major bullish news, and what they're doing, and they just put a letter out to their shareholders about what's going to happen in the future as far as with crypto. We're going to take a look at that and also some concerns. We're also going to talk about VC dumping. And we're going to get CJ Reichel in here. He's an advisor to Rebellion Capital Partners. And lastly, we're going to talk about how only 1% of crypto tokens, as far as like token offerings, have given a 10x return for this entire year. And Dan Degen had 3 of them. So we'll do all those things, and we'll do a Q&A at the very end of the live stream. So let's just jump in because we got a lot of stuff to go over. So first up, let's just take a look at the big story, which is this. And if you're living under a rock, you've heard this awful story. There was, I think it was 19 children killed in an awful display of some mad gunmen here in Texas, right outside of San Antonio. 19 children killed, and 1 teacher killed because of some crazy person. So since I live here in Texas, it's pretty awful, and you can feel it's pretty palpable, the sadness. So that's how it is. Moment of silence. So I will just say this, and then we'll move on. Everybody knows I lived in Las Vegas for a couple of years, and during that time there was that big mass shooting. Some nut, same thing. He was on some hotel, and there was a country western concert, and he killed a bunch of people. And it was the same. And what happened was it was sadness. Then there was anger and outrage, and there was talk of something happening, and nothing ever happened. And then, of course, there was the Las Vegas Strong bumper stickers. And then I moved back to El Paso, and like a year later, we had that massive Walmart shooting where another 10, 12 people were killed by another mad gunman. And it was sadness, anger and outrage, talk about something to be done. And of course, the bumper stickers, El Paso Strong. You can still see them. El Paso Strong says so strong. And that's what it is. I don't know what the resolution is here. This is not a political channel, but say I'm getting real tired of seeing all these things go down. So let's move on to crypto. So this is the market. You guys know what it is. And Bitcoin's down. Actually, excuse me, Bitcoin's up a little bit. Ethereum's up a little bit. And everything's up just a little bit, and it's because, you know, our correlated asset market, S&P 500, as well as NASDAQ, is also up. So that's good. And we'd like to see those little pumps, and hopefully they'll continue. And maybe they will with stories such as this. And we haven't had some good news lately. Let's be honest. It's like getting kicked in the teeth every day for this market. But again, there are much worse things out there. So keep that in perspective. However, this does buoy my hopes as far as the market itself. And JP Morgan says Bitcoin is undervalued by 28%. That's adorable. It's nice. But it says cryptocurrencies are now a preferred alternative asset, which is pretty amazing, quite honestly. If you take a look at the CEO Jamie Dimon, and this is his progression from 2015 to 2021. First, he said virtual currencies will be stopped. And then he said that Bitcoin is a fraud. And then he said he regrets calling Bitcoin a fraud, but believes in the technology behind it, which is what a lot of people always start to spout off about. Blockchain's great, but Bitcoin sucks. Then Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is not my cup of tea, even as JP Morgan has warned in crypto. And then JP Morgan says investors could make 1% of portfolios. And of course, now here we are. JP Morgan may offer managed Bitcoin fund. And then, of course, today we got this. This is what's going on. And this is what we have. Now, there's a big difference. I think someone said this in the comments between talking about it and doing it. Remember that. But it's looking pretty good. Here's what we got. Banking giant JP Morgan says Bitcoin is massively undervalued, maintaining its estimate of Bitcoin's fair value at $38,000. And it's below that, we'll say. The bank today reiterated the assessment it gave the asset in February when the crypto was around $43,400. So, okay, so they think it's totally undervalued, which if you're into investing like I am, which pretty sure you are because you're here, you know that distressed assets are just waiting to be scooped up. In a note to clients issued Wednesday, let me say that one more time. In a note to clients issued Wednesday, the bank stated that it is replacing real estate with digital or crypto assets as its preferred alternative asset class, along with hedge funds, citing potential lagged repricing in private equity, private debt, and real estate. One more time. Note to clients, they're replacing real estate with digital crypto assets as its preferred alternative asset class, along with hedge funds. I love that. That sounds good. I could use some good news. That's fantastic. Here's where it gets a little wonky. Maybe. The strategists also believe that the trajectory for VC funding, venture capitalist funding, would be crucial in helping the crypto market to avoid the long winter of 2018, 2019, which makes sense, right? We all like VCs. VCs are great. They throw around money. Everything's good. Maybe. We'll get to that in a second. Just today, Ethereum scaling startup Starkware raised $100 million at $8 billion valuation, and venture giant Andreessen Horowitz announced a $1.5 billion allotment for crypto investments as part of its larger $4.5 billion fund. Why did I even mention this? It's because I know you're afraid. I see the fear and greed index. It's like at 11 or 10 or something ridiculously low. It's because people are afraid, just like people were afraid in 2018, just like they were afraid in 2014, that crypto is going to go away because some person on some channel, some, I don't know, investment legend said it's going to go away to zero. And then, of course, a couple of years later, then they're like, I'm all Bitcoin. So whatever. But it just goes to show you that as much as we've endured, we're still making strides and people are still dumping money into it. And we're going to get into that a little bit later too. Thus far, there's little evidence of VC funding drying up post Terra's collapse. Of the $25 billion funding to date, almost $4 billion came in for Terra. So let me make this clear. It's not like $25 billion went into Terra. They're just saying that, look, even though Terra collapsed and it had a big pullback in the market, you're still getting $4 billion more people coming in, or $4 billion worth of revenue coming in because people believe in it. And then our best guess is the VC funding will continue and a long winter similar to 2018, 2019 would be averted. Well, man, I hope so. I will tell you this. There's two sides of the story. One is people always say this time it's different. I heard that. I hear that every day, actually. There's a book, actually. It's called This Time is Different. And it kind of goes about and says that, no, not in reality. A lot of times it isn't different. However, it is odd because we are a lot farther along than we were in 2017. Think back in 2017. What did Ethereum really do? Honestly, it was like, well, it's smart contracts. Great. What's that? Well, it can unlock things automatically and do a lot of things on the block. Great. What does it do? Well, it doesn't do anything. It didn't do anything. Then, of course, then we had DeFi. And then we had NFTs. And then we had this explosion in crypto space. I mean, pick your poison about what's going on. Now, are we there yet? No, but it's a little bit different than what it was before. So potentially that could be correct. And I just want to remind everybody that, yes, it's a little bit of a difficult time, but just remember stuff like this. This is my first biggest news as far as like bullish news. This second would be JP Morgan. And this was from I always get this wrong, the Swiss asset manager, Julius Baer, with $500 billion assets under management. And their CEO said this: they, crypto, DeFi, will transform the financial sector over the next 10 years. And it's important for us to gain a strong foothold in this area. That's why it's exactly the right moment to invest in the long-term potential of digital asset technology. It's kind of strange that is the exact same kind of wording, digital assets, that Forbes said. Interesting. Then also, if you think it's going to go away, take a look at this. This is from Riot Blockchain. And they said this is a proud moment here in Rockdale. That's in the eastern part of Texas, I believe. Our construction of Building E is underway, the last building in our 400 megawatt expansion. And look at that. That's the one behind there. That's the one that they're just building now for Bitcoin mining operation. They've already got a bunch of them already up and running. So look, if you think things are going away, it's not. It may slow down, but we're still going in the right direction. So let me know what you think about that in the comments section. That leads me to my next point. So this section. VC dumping. And it's going to start off kind of weird, but just stick with me for a second, shall you? So I read all the comments, and some comments are great. Some are informative. Some are very, very positive. And then, I got a couple that are trolls and they hate me. That's okay. Because as a reminder, I tweeted this out today. You never know what someone's going through. A few nice words can help a person a lot more than you think. And I said, I love you, trolls. So just remember, we don't know what battles people are going through in the comment section. They could have lost someone today. You don't know. So I was reading this, and this is from Crypto Biryani. And he said, my June crypto predictions: Bitcoin 15K, Ethereum 950, Cardano 7 cents, Polkadot $1.50, Avalanche, Matic, blah, blah, blah. Right. I'm going to go in hard, but I'm waiting like a crouching tiger. And I was like, you never know. I mean, that's what it is. So as I'm talking about this great bullish news, I'm giving you some bearish side just to balance some things out. But there was a comment from a friend of the show, Simon Yu. Simon says, those prices are too soon for June. If we do end up those levels, it'll be a slow bleed like the last bear market. And then he continued on and he talked about this. Well, actually, before he says that, I don't know if you guys know who Simon Yu is. Simon, you should know him. You should follow him on there. It's at Simon Yu SCA. And he's like an OG in crypto. He's been since 2014 with StormX. He is the founder and CEO. He's got hundreds of retail partnerships. And then, of course, they have a partnership with the Portland Trail Blazers, the NBA. So he's got some insights. And he says this specific comment: stay away from tokens that have a heavy venture capitalist concentration. Once those unlocks start happening, it's a cliff down. And yes, DCA and the good ones, sustainable as well. Thanks, man. That's right, DCA. So I want to break some of this down, this VC concentration. Does that mean that everything that VCs invest into is trash? No. However, there is a big difference between a massive VC infusion of funds where they have all or most or a good portion of the tokens, as opposed to VCs are like, hey, I'll give you, that's like 3 to 5, 10% of our tokenomics. Huge difference. So having said that, my man, Ada Ape, if you don't follow him, follow him at the Ada Ape. And he quotes Masari. He talks about initial token allocations for a public blockchain. So if you see right here in this, I guess it's pink, kind of colorblind. And that includes all team, company, and VC purchase tokens. You see Ethereum. Ethereum is mostly blue, and that's blue is public sale. We'd like to see that, just public sale, out to the public. Binance, 50-50. We all know it's centralized. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's not stop beating around the bush. Polkadot, the brown is foundations. So foundations, company-governed grant pools, other incentives like testnet participants. Okay, sounds pretty good. Then a third of that is insiders, which would include VCs, and of course the public sale. Cardano looks like far and away one of the best, as opposed to EOS. Wow, look at EOS. That's a lot of public sale. Tron, Tezos, nice shallow Flow. I don't know what Flow is. That's a lot. 58% for insiders. Sweet Mary and Joseph. And then Internet Computer, 39% and 35%. Okay. And then he further breaks it down, my man, and says, hey, don't forget about Terra. I was like, okay. And Terra, if you can see right here, the brown is foundations, token allocated to foundations, community governed grant pools, other incentives like testnet, 44%, but 56% was, of course, the VC insiders. And this is the question then. Well, how the heck do we know that? Where do we find this information? How many VCs are out there? Would you just look at tokenomics? Or is there like a simpler tool to use? So what I did is I brought my man, CJ Reichel. And we talked, and it's very short. It's a little over 5 minutes. And this is CJ Reichel. He's the advisor to Rebellion Capital Partners. And smart guy. He's been on the show for quite some time. So just listen to what he has to say. And I'm going to give you some tools to where you're going to find all this stuff out, where to look for it, what to find, so you can do your best research so you don't get dumped on. So let's just take a quick listen to what CJ has got to say right now. All right, buddy. So as promised, I brought someone who could make a little bit more sense of that. And that, of course, is CJ. I'll give the intro. CJ, welcome back to the show. It's been quite some time. Thanks for stepping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob. It's really good to be back.
Yeah. So what's going on? All right, buddy. So as promised, I brought someone who could make a little bit more sense of that. And that, of course, is CJ. I'll give the intro. CJ, welcome back to the show. It's been quite some time. Thanks for stepping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob. It's really good to be back.
Yeah. So what's going on here? Bring us some light.
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that is most important going into a sustained period of bearish to neutral market environment is just understanding the implications of very high, fully diluted valuations within specific projects.
Okay.
I think Solana and the DeFi ecosystem that I think VCs have done a lot of harm to the Solana DeFi ecosystem, and we can go into that in a moment. But first, I want to just discuss the importance of fully diluted valuations and how you guys can find out for yourselves. Maybe there's some VC unlocks or things like that occurring in the near future. Cool. But basically, if we go over to, do you want to say something?
No, so give us the tools. This ought to be good.
All right, yeah. So very simple on CoinGecko here. One way that you can find out when a project has a little bit of a skewed fully diluted valuation, one good example is STEPN, so GMT. When you look at the circulating supply right now, it's only 600 million, but the max supply that will be released over the coming years is 6 billion. So when you have a 10x difference between basically your market cap and then the fully diluted valuation, it's kind of a red flag to say, all right, maybe there's going to be some VC unlocks, which leads to further sell pressure. Is there going to be equal demand coming in to meet that? So speaking of STEPN here, let's take a closer look at that project and some of its fundamental breakdowns.
Okay.
So we go over to Binance Research here and a little bit about the token allocation and private sales. 16% of the total supply was sold in a private allocation sale, and that was at a price of half a penny.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cheap. Okay. What do we got? We got a price right now of $1.39. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and folks will think, kind of counterintuitively, like, oh, price is down 70% from its all-time high at $4 or whatever. I could be buying this cheap. But I think the reality is that as these unlocks of the private sale continue to occur, it will likely lead to more sell pressure because they will likely take profits. I mean, who wouldn't if you bought this thing for half a cent? That's a huge win. So I think before investing or doubling down on any altcoin in this environment, it's really important to have an understanding of the supply schedule, the unlock schedule here, as well as the fully diluted valuation. And you can find that pretty simply at CoinGecko and also Messari. Messari does a great job of providing you with a liquid supply curve for various crypto assets. This is Axie Infinity, somewhat of a similar project to GMT in terms of its supply schedule as well as the play to earn narrative. You also have layer ones, kind of like Near Protocol, that have very aggressive vesting schedules.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, what I'll conclude with is just showing some charts about kind of the VC activity and what's occurred in the Solana ecosystem with DeFi. So basically, you have FTX, which lists very liquid perpetual futures on these assets, and basically VCs will hedge with the perp futures. They'll short on FTX, and then they'll just sell as their unlocks occur. And it produces charts that are very similar. Like this is Oxygen, but if you look at Serum, as well as Radium, like these are all assets within the Solana ecosystem that have been hurt a lot by VC unlocks. And formerly Crypto Cobain, but his name is Kobe now. He did a really interesting podcast recently about how this could have potentially set back Solana DeFi for 2 years or so, because retail is going to see these charts and going to be like, is there something wrong? Like, I'm not going to touch this.
Gotcha.
Being said, I don't think that is necessarily bullish for the SOL token. I think there are other reasons why that could be quite bullish aside from just the DeFi ecosystem.
Yeah, and just for everybody out there, there's a difference between the L1, which is Solana or Cardano or Avalanche or whatever L1 you want to throw in there, as opposed to the ecosystem itself. I think that's the big distinction. Then also, just real quick to say is that with these private sales, it's like if some of these VCs really believe in the project, they are not going to dump all of it, but you have to take a look at the projects and do your own research and your due diligence and just decide for yourself. But the big thing now is, especially in this market, is to be careful. And as far as like, look at all the risks. Okay. CJ, anything else we missed? That was great information. Thanks.
Yeah, the last thing I'll close with is I just think that a lot of how these altcoin projects are constructed is that their supply schedules are built in such a way that demand is supposed to come in a linear fashion.
Right.
Like very few markets work like that, especially crypto. Demand comes in rapid periods of time. And then, basically 70% of the time is kind of a boring lull, what we're in right now.
Yeah. Gotcha. And you know what? I think in bull markets, we can absorb that, but in bear markets, it's a little bit more dicey. So gotcha. All right. And everybody, if you want to learn some more and find some more great tips and tricks and things like that, there's going to be a link below in the description for Market Rebellion. And you can chat up CJ and get all the information that he has and more so. So CJ, thanks again for stopping by. That was great.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. So again, thank you, CJ, for coming on. That was fantastic, quite honestly. And you can find, again, Market Rebellion, but also I put in there CJ's Twitter account. So definitely follow CJ. He's got a wealth of information, and as far as trading and things like that, and just the basic info that you can really go for. I just wanted to, because when I was editing that video, I didn't do a great job of showing you what he was talking about. So just so you know, like if you go to STEPN as the example that we used in the video, the market cap is 833,457,201, but the fully diluted value is 8,334,000,570. And because why? It's because there's an unlocking schedule still to come. So in the circulating supply, you're like, is that all that's circulating? Well, yes, that's right now. It's what it's circulating. But the total supply is 6 billion. So roughly, you've got a fraction of what the total supply is because of the lockup periods. And of course, that's why you do your own research and you take a look at it and go, okay, when are these lockup periods? When can I expect a big dumping? If there's going to be a big dumping. Again, like I said, if the VCs truly believe in it and it is a really good project, then they're not going to dump everything, but they will sell a little bit because they want to get their initial investment back plus some. And that's just the name of the game. So let me know what you think about all of that we just talked about. And let's move on to our last piece and we can do Q&A after that. Only 1% of token offerings had a 10x return. Pretty crazy, right? And this is from Glavsky Medium. They talk about and there's a lot. There's like 619 public token offerings this year. And just so you know, over in Dan Degen, we've featured 3 of them. And these are the ones. Dan Degen used to be Dan Clips. I get away with the clips because no one really cared. But what they do care about is like super early projects that are just coming in. Again, Dan Degen, that's a place to lose all your money. Just letting you know. So that's the most risky thing that I can do on this channel. I'm very conservative, very laid back. But over there, it's a little bit, like I said, dicey. And the 3 that we actually talked about were Gensokishi, Everdome, Fame, and we're going to feature SWEATCOIN pretty soon because it's going to be awesome. So Gensokishi, and this was prices on May 21st. I should have pulled the one for today, but it was a 50x. I mean, from what we invested into. Everdome, we got it in a fraction of a penny, and it went to 4 or 5 cents. So right now we're at a 4x, but when we should have sold a little bit more, we didn't, and it was like at 19x or something like that. And then the Fame MMA token, that right now is at 7 cents. It used to be at 49 cents, then it went to 20, then it went to 36, then 28 and 26. So right now, because the market's down, it's only a minimal 7x, but we did pretty good. There's all the videos that you can watch. I've talked about this at great length, so you can check those out. And then if you're looking for the actual links for Dan Degen, it's in the links in all my descriptions. Follow Dan. There's Twitter, and there's Dan Degen, and of course the Theta account as well. And also, if you want to get into SWEATCOIN and try to beat me, hint you will not on all the steps, then download it right here. And that's what we got. So look, I know I'm in a little bit longer, but a lot of good information. I like to talk more when it's a little bit more bullish than it is bearish. And then, of course, the awful thing that happened yesterday in Texas. So that's it for today. If you got to take off, I understand time